My dad claims that when they first saw me, they knew I was meant to be their daughter. The adoption process took months of interviews, home inspections, and paperwork, but my parents persisted, and I grew up. My sister told my husband to get together sometime without baggage when I got pregnant, and my mother canceled my gender reveal party without telling me to help my cheating sister. I was left in the hospital as a newborn. My father's siblings and their children also welcomed me without question, and we spent holidays together, went camping, and maintained close relationships even as we grew older. My paternal grandparents, who were their only child for several years, embraced me from day one, celebrated my birthday, included me in family traditions, and treated me exactly like their other grandchildren. When I asked my grandmother where I should sit at the dinner table on my first Thanksgiving with the extended family, she pointed to a small folding chair in the dining room's corner to keep me apart from everyone else. My dad picked me up right away, took our coats, and we left, with my mother staying behind and saying she would speak to her parents when we got home. Dad explained that some people have narrow opinions on what constitutes a family. He assured me that I would always be his daughter regardless of what anyone else thought. The following day, Mom came back and told me that her parents would eventually come around, but they never did. When I was 8 years old, my mother unexpectedly became pregnant. The news shocked everyone, including my parents, who had long given up hope of getting pregnant. Their joy was immediate and evident, and I saw how my maternal grandparents responded to the news, calling it a miracle, and suddenly becoming more when I woke up crying. My parents sat me down and reassured me that I would always be their first daughter. Dad stressed that family isn't about blood but about love, and Mom suggested that I help decorate the nursery and become a big sister. The idea of having a sibling eventually grew on me, and I remember standing on my tiptoes next to the hospital bed to see Hannah, who was born in the spring. For the first few years, Hannah followed me everywhere, wanted to wear the same clothes, play the same games, and sit next to me when we met. I taught her how to tie her shoes and ride a bike, but after she turned 5, my maternal grandparents started taking her on weekend visits without me, and whenever she came back, she would look at me, her tiny face. Dad lifted me so I could get a better look, and Mom taught me how to support her head properly when holding her. Be different and refrain from playing with me. Once, when we were coloring together, she asked, "Is it true that you're not my sister?" I wasn't sure how to react, so I told Mom about it. She later dismissed it as a misunderstanding and said she would speak with Hannah. The incident began when my favorite sweater vanished before school picture day, and my homework assignments vanished from my backpack. When I brought these things up to my parents, they implied that I was growing forgetful after becoming disorganized. I discovered that my toothbrush was wet every morning even though I hadn't used it yet. I decided to keep it in my bedroom rather than the bathroom. One day after school, I discovered Hannah in my room, smearing my new makeup all over her face on the carpet. When I asked her what she was doing, she smirked and kept rubbing her eyes and shadow into the rug. I called my mother, who came upstairs and gasped at the devastation, realizing that almost $200 worth of products that I had saved for months were ruined. While helping Hannah clean her face, Mom sighed and told me not to get too worked up over makeup. When I persisted, Hannah eventually confessed, in between sobs, that she had also taken my belongings and used my toothbrush to clean the toilet. Mom seemed surprised and asked her why, and Hannah blurted out, "Sophie doesn't belong in our family and gets too much attention. You and Dad spend too much money on her when it should be on her." Mom called Hannah's grandparents right away, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. She then explained that her parents were traditional and that Hannah shouldn't follow their advice. She also promised to limit Hannah's unsupervised visits with them. When Dad learned, he wanted to stop all communication, but Mom persuaded him that would be too drastic. Despite Mom's assurances, nothing changed. Hannah continued to visit our grandparents by herself, and her behavior. High school made her attitude toward me worse. She publicly made fun of my appearance in front of my friends, spilled drinks on my homework, and took clothes without permission and returned them damaged. Dad constantly stood up for me and reprimanded Hannah, while Mom made excuses for her behavior, saying that she was just going through a phase. In the meantime, I withdrew and concentrated on my studies, spending more time with my friends and less time at home when I left for college. Improved merely due to distance, I spent the holidays on campus, worked part-time, and concentrated on my degree. After graduating, I relocated to a different city for a job opportunity, and I only saw my family during significant holidays. On one Thanksgiving visit, I brought my boyfriend Thomas to meet everyone. Hannah was then 20, and he spent the entire evening touching his arm and talking while sitting too close to him on the couch and asking if he wanted to see her. Hannah followed Thomas into the hallway when he excused himself to use the restroom. Later, Thomas told me that she had given him her phone number and suggested that they get together sometime without the baggage. When I confronted her, she laughed and said, "Don't be so sensitive. It's not like he's anything special." Dad overheard and demanded that Hannah apologize, but she refused, saying that I was overreacting as usual. Mom remained silent during the exchange. Thomas and I left early. My visits were further restricted 2 years ago when my maternal grandparents planned a family cruise to celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. All the family members were invited, but Dad declined right away, which led to a fight between my parents. Hannah accused Dad of always siding with Sophie and insisted that he come without me because I probably wouldn't want to be stranded on a boat with the family anyhow. Dad stuck to his decision, and Mom and Hannah went on with the help of Thomas, who is now my husband in therapy. I gradually learned to set boundaries. After Hannah posted dozens of pictures on social media with the tags "Real Family Vacation" and "Blood is Thicker Than Water," I blocked her. When Hannah made disparaging remarks about my job, house, or relationship, I responded firmly rather than backing down, which surprised her because she was used to me remaining silent during a family dinner when she said that that night I overheard my parents fighting about Hannah's behavior and Mom's continued defense of it. 5 months ago, I found out I was pregnant with Thomas. I responded that at least I had a career path, unlike someone who had changed majors 3 times and was still working part-time at a mall kiosk. She stormed out, and Mom followed to comfort her dad. I finished dinner alone, and he told me he was proud of me for standing up for myself. I assumed the promotion was due to affirmative action for orphans. The news brought us great joy because I had been trying for almost a year. We told my parents over dinner, and they were very excited. Mom even seemed genuinely happy. Dad immediately started planning to turn his home workshop into a nursery for when we visited with a baby Hannah. Meanwhile, she had married a man named Parker 2 years prior in a ceremony that she wasn't invited to attend, based on what I've learned from family conversations. Their relationship had always been rocky. Hannah frequently. Despite my lack of interest in Hannah's marital troubles, I complained about Parker to my mother, who then shared these concerns with me. Last month, I decided to throw a gender reveal party, a small get-together with close friends and family where we would cut into a colored cake. Thomas's parents were flying in for the event, and my father's side of the family had all confirmed their attendance. My mother initially offered to help with the preparations, but she grew more aloof as the date approached. Mom suggested that I postpone my gender reveal party because it would be insensitive to celebrate while Hannah was going through a difficult time. I explained that invitations had been sent, people were traveling to attend, and the bakery order had been placed. Mom called 3 days before the party, and her voice sounded strange as she explained that Hannah was going through a difficult time and had temporarily moved back home because Parker had misunderstood a situation and was now filing for divorce. Was verified, and my pregnancy had nothing to do with Hannah's marital issues. Mom insisted that family should help one another in times of need, and that I was being self-centered by moving forward with my plans. Hannah needed everyone's support currently, so she said, "You can always have your party later when things settle down." I refused to cancel, implying that if Hannah felt uncomfortable, maybe she and Mom could skip the event. This response offended Mom, said I had never been empathetic. The morning of the party, I got a group text from Mom to all of the guests, explaining that my gender reveal party was canceled until further notice due to a family emergency. She apologized for the inconvenience and promised updates regarding rescheduling, but I hadn't been informed of this decision beforehand. When I called Mom, she came to my house 30 minutes later and said she had saved me from embarrassment. For the first time in my life, I asked my mother to leave my house right away because she seemed shocked by my reaction and tried to defend her choice further. I opened the front door and waited silently until she left, and Thomas returned home early from work after I called. She described my gender reveal as a trivial event that could easily be postponed to accommodate Hannah's emotional needs. Celebrating a pregnancy while Hannah was going through a divorce would appear tasteless to extended family. In her explanation of what transpired, Hannah texted me to tell me to stop being dramatic about a pointless party and to take into account how tough her life was at the moment. She also said that Mom was only attempting to preserve the family's reputation and that I should keep some things private. That night, I found out from my father that Hannah's divorce was not the result of a misunderstanding because his mother had said that Parker had come home early from a business trip and discovered Hannah in bed. After speaking with Thomas, I wrote an email to everyone who had been invited to the gender reveal party, clarifying that, in contrast to my mother's message, I had not agreed to cancel the event. I explained how Mom had done this without my knowledge or consent because Hannah was going through a difficult time. Her father, who had recently learned the truth about her relationship with her former college boyfriend, was angry with both Hannah for her adultery and Mom for lying about it. Divorce after being caught cheating on her husband. I concluded by saying that my mother and sister were not welcome to attend the gender reveal, which would be rescheduled and hosted by Thomas's parents at their house the following weekend. Within minutes of sending the email, my phone started ringing with calls from Mom and Hannah. I put it on hold and went to bed. The following morning, I had more than 30 texts and 17 voicemails requesting that I correct the situation and send a retraction email claiming my father called to say he fully supported my decision and would attend the new party. He also mentioned that things at home had become more tense, with Hannah accusing me of damaging her reputation and Mom divided between defending Hannah and realizing that canceling my event was inappropriate. The message was sent in anger and contained fabrications. I chose not to reply to any of these communications. Several of my cousins from my father's side attended the rescheduled gender reveal party and expressed their disappointment in my mother's actions. A week later, my father called to inform me that Hannah's ex-boyfriend, whom she had been caught with, was married and had 2 children. We learned that we were having a girl from Thomas's family, and friends from both sides created a warm and supportive atmosphere. Parker had proof that the affair had been going on for months, and their social circle was aware of it. Hannah blamed me for revealing her first affair, saying that I had destroyed her chances of getting back together with Parker. Additionally, her father had given her a deadline: either find her apartment or go to therapy and apologize to me. Hannah decided to move out, reportedly staying with friends for now, and accused her father of choosing the adopted child over his biological child. She claims that canceling my party was the right thing to do given the situation, and that I overreacted by exposing Hannah's infidelity. My daughter's mother has tried to get in touch with me multiple times, but her messages mostly focus on how I've harmed her relationship with Hannah, rather than admitting how her actions hurt me. Dad now visits frequently, sometimes staying for dinner and helping Thomas set up the nursery. He recently mentioned that while he and Mom are still together, their relationship has been strained by these events. He doesn't expect a divorce, but he has made it clear to Mom that her treatment of me over the years has harmed their marriage. As for me, I've decided to limit contact with Mom and Hannah moving forward because I don't want my daughter to be exposed to the same dynamics I went through as a child. Thomas fully supports this decision, and my due date is quickly approaching. Thomas and I have finished childbirth classes and have chosen a nursery. Update 1. It's been 6 weeks since my last post, and my daughter Lily was born 2 weeks ago. She is healthy and perfect in every way. The birth went smoothly, and we returned home after 2 days in the hospital. Thomas took paternity leave, and he has been wonderful with night feedings and changing diapers. However, they are keeping it private until she is born. Dad has already bought a small bookshelf and filled it with children's books for his future granddaughter. Thomas's parents arrived the following day with more useful gifts, such as diapers, wipes, and freezer meals. On our 3rd day home, Mom unexpectedly showed up with an expensive designer outfit for Lily, who was in size 6 to 12 months rather than newborn, and pretended as if nothing had happened between us. She tried to take Lily from my arms without asking, insisting she knew better how to hold a baby because she'd actually, when she gave birth. Thomas stepped in and advised that Mom should have called before coming. She left soon after texting that I had turned my husband against her. According to Dad, Hannah has not contacted her directly, but has instead sent a generic card of congratulations without any personal notes. She has been living with our maternal grandparents, who have been criticizing my vendetta against the family and have not acknowledged the birth of Lily. My paternal grandparents, who are now in their 80s, made that my grandmother brought the baby quilt she had made for me when I was adopted, freshly cleaned and restored, and told me she had always kept it in the hopes that I would use it for my child someday. On the way to meet their great-granddaughter, my grandmother said that Mom has been going to individual counseling at his insistence, and that she seems to recognize some problematic patterns in her relationship with Hannah, but she still finds it difficult to understand my perspective. He acknowledges that years of enabling I'll be working from home part-time starting in a few weeks, so Hannah's behavior won't change overnight. Thomas returns to work next month, and my company offers remote work-off options for new parents. We found a daycare for when I return to the office, but that won't be until Lily is at least 6 months old. For now, we're settling into our new routine as a family of 3. Thomas's mother comes in once a week to help with laundry and meal preparation, and his dad stops by every few days to make sure everything is okay. Convenient update. It has been 4 months since Lily was born, and she is growing rapidly. She has recently begun rolling over, and her smile lights up the room, especially when she sees her grandfather or Thomas return from work. Last month, I received an unexpected email from Parker, Hannah's ex-husband, thanking me for being honest about the circumstances of their divorce. He explained that Hannah and my mother had been spreading a narrative that he was unfaithful and abusive, and that my email to the family had unintentionally cleared his name among mutual acquaintances, wished me well with my new family, and apologized for any stress the situation had caused during my pregnancy. 2 weeks ago, Mom returned to our door with Hannah to settle the score and meet Lily properly. Hannah said right away that Lily didn't look like me, with a strange emphasis that seemed purposeful. Mom gave her a forced smile and nudged her. The visit was tense, and Hannah spent most of the time on her phone. Thomas, who had been giving them a chance out of respect for family reconciliation, immediately stood up and suggested that it was time for them to leave because Lily needed her nap. After they left, we received a group text from Mom accusing us of being hostile and unwelcoming during what was supposed to be a peacemaking visit. Hannah said, "She's so whiny. I guess that runs in your side," looking directly at me. Dad later told us that Hannah has been openly dating her former college boyfriend since his divorce was finalized, and our maternal grandparents seem to see nothing wrong with this relationship despite how it started. Dad seems increasingly frustrated with the situation, but he still keeps in touch with Mom and Hannah while maintaining firm boundaries. We did not respond to his apology for Thomas's rude behavior in asking them to leave. Thomas and I have decided to proceed with purchasing a home. Dad has already offered to help with the move and renovations to the new place, but our relationship with Mom and Hannah is still distant. They occasionally text about unimportant things, but never address the underlying problems. I replied to Mom politely but briefly and hardly ever interact with Hannah. The commute will be longer for both of us because we live in a nearby town with better schools, but the community offers excellent educational programs and more family-friendly amenities. Lily turned 1 year old, and we celebrated with a small party at our new house. My dad helped Thomas set up a swing in the backyard as a birthday present for Lily, and my paternal grandparents sent a package of children's books and a savings bond for her education. Thomas's family drove up for the weekend and stayed in our newly finished guest room. Although it's not ideal, it seems the most manageable for keeping my well-being and concentrating on Lily's needs. 2 major things have happened in the last few months. First, Dad moved out of the family home and into his apartment, explaining that after several unsuccessful attempts at couples counseling, he realized the marriage had become irreparably damaged. Then, after learning from my cousin that Mom had posted pictures of herself at a spa that day, Hannah sent nothing and failed to acknowledge Lily's birthday. The last straw was when he found out Mom had stressed that his decision was the result of decades of similar patterns, and that, after Hannah announced her engagement to her ex-boyfriend, the previously married man, they planned to get married at an upscale resort next summer, with our maternal grandparents paying the majority of the expenses. He had been covertly sending money to Hannah to fund a cosmetic procedure while claiming they couldn't afford to fix the roof leak in their house. Mom contacted me later, insisting that I should be more supportive of Hannah despite not being invited to the wedding. She suggested that I send an expensive gift as a gesture of goodwill, but I declined, explaining that I wouldn't send a gift to an event I wasn't welcome to attend. This was the first time in years that she had not called to reconcile, but rather to let me know that I would not be receiving an invitation. I wished her well and ended the call. Dad comes twice a week, often staying for dinner or taking Lily to the park. He has rented a 2-bedroom apartment so that when Lily grows up, she has her place when she stays with him. She accused me of being petty and harboring grudges. Thomas and Dad have formed their friendships frequently, collaborating on home improvement projects following Lily's bedtime, watching sports.